I know you love earning travel rewards and cash back, and that's why you're going to love Rakuten. With Rakuten, you can earn cash back on everything you need to book your dream trip, hotels, flights, rental cars, experiences, and more, while still booking through your favorite travel sites. And don't worry, cash back can be earned on top of earning the credit card points and the hotel and airline loyalty points that matter most to you, depending on how you make your booking. Plus, with Rakuten, you can also earn cash back on groceries and other purchases like electronics, pet supplies, and more. And the best part, you can join today for free and start earning cash back on top of your travel rewards. Go to Rakuten.com or get the app. That's Rakuten, Rakuten. Rakuten, the most rewarding way to shop.
Sicily's big. The weather's always nice. It's really affordable compared to a lot of parts of Italy. And maybe in recent years, people are wanting to go to places a little more off the grid, not as touristic, not the same kind of main stops that everyone they know have been going to. I think just slow down, look around. In Sicily, your travel experience will be multiplied a million times if you don't rush yourself. Leave room for the unexpected.
That is Linda Sarris. She's today's guest, a chef, writer, and author of Moon's new Sicily guidebook. Linda made the leap from working as a private chef in New York City to building a food-focused travel business in Sicily, where she's lived for the past 8 years. So you know that she knows what she's talking about in this conversation. You'll discover some of the inside secrets to authentic Sicilian cuisine, a practical approach to planning your visit to Sicily that avoids that common mistake of trying to see everything on one trip, the perfect bases for different travel styles, and of course, plenty of hidden gems beyond the tourist trail, including lesser-known islands that are just starting to gain popularity. Those are always fun ones to get to before everybody else does, and loads more, whether you're dreaming of wandering through the vibrant food markets, sipping local wines with volcano views, exploring ancient architecture, or just soaking up that relaxed Mediterranean pace of life. This episode is going to help you plan a more authentic and enjoyable trip to Sicily. Let's dive in, shall we? Thanks for being here, and welcome to the Zero to Travel podcast, my friend.
You're listening to the Zero to Travel podcast, where we explore exciting travel-based work, lifestyle, and business opportunities, helping you to achieve your wildest travel dreams. And now your host, world wanderer and travel junkie, Jason Moore.
Howdy, howdy. It's Jason here with ZeroToTravel.com. Welcome to the show, my friend. Thanks for hanging out, letting me bring a little travel into your ears today. This is the show to help you travel the world on your terms, to fill your life with as much travel as you desire, no matter what your situation or experience. And as you heard in the last episode, I told you we got some destination stuff coming your way this month. We got a destination doubleheader this week with two Moon guidebook authors. This episode covers Sicily, as you know, and I'm excited to dive in. Before we do, a quick reminder, over at zerototravel.com/newsletter, I write a free newsletter once a week to this community. So sign up over there if you haven't done so. Would love for you to join up. And one last reminder, Linda has her website at lindasarris.com. That is SARRIS. And you can see what she's doing over there. She calls it the Cheeky Chef. And we had a great chat, so I hope you enjoy it. Stick around on the back end. I'll leave you with a quote after this one. Thanks for listening. Linda Sarris, welcome to the Zero to Travel podcast, my friend. Awesome to have you here.
Thank you.
I know part of this conversation, we're going to dive into food. So I just ate before we chatted. I'm like, every time I do these sort of semi-food related podcasts, my mouth's watering and I make a big mistake if I don't chow down before. And so anyway, welcome to the show. Congratulations on the new book, Southern Italy, and forthcoming Sicily. You have another guide.
Sicily's out.
Is out too. Okay, great. Yeah, there you go. And Sicily, I mean, this is the big reason we have you here today, because it's a place that I haven't been. And, we got to get new destinations on people's bucket list radar. So you do a lot of different things. Like I was just on LinkedIn and your description is like freelance writer, social media manager, culinary communications consultant, private chef. Like, how does that work?
Exactly. How has it evolved?
How does that work in your life practically? Yeah. How did you, develop this whole?
Okay. I do a lot of things. So sometimes it is hard to keep a handle on. I lived in New York City. I worked as a private chef, and I came to Sicily in 2011 and for an internship. And when I arrived here, I realized this was my place. Spent a few years going back and forth. Finally, when I moved here, I realized private chefing was not going to work here. The local people have a great level of cooking at home. So the last thing they want is to hire a chef and not an American.
They're like, why do we need you in our kitchen, Linda? Like,
exactly. So I spent a lot of years meeting food producers, winemakers, traveling around, learning about the area, the history, and then found I was a good person to be in between the locals and the visitors. So I started developing my own food and wine travel company, which now has evolved into different branches, but that's kind of the theme of it.
Huge congrats. Just going back to when you landed in Sicily for the first time, you said it felt like home. Was it that kind of special, like that instantaneous? What was it that made you feel?
Oh, it was absolutely instantaneous.
Really? Wow.
I'm not Italian or Italian American. My family's Greek. I ended up here with this scholarship, so it wasn't even really my plan to come to Sicily. I got here, the weather was beautiful, the people are nice, the food is great, and I felt comfortable. And I think part of that is my Mediterranean background. This is home as well as other parts of the Mediterranean. But I felt welcome, and I said, no more New York City, that was not for me. And just started doing whatever I could to spend more and more time here.
When you were in New York City, did you feel like you had an inkling that it wasn't for you? Or at that point, were you pretty like, I'm a New Yorker, this is where I am, and this whole Sicily thing was totally unsuspect, like out of the blue kind of thing?
No, I'm not a good example because I was not the person who was in love with New York.
Yeah, you were ready to get out.
I think it was great for that period of my life. Right out of college, I stayed there for 10 years or so. I started cooking there. I started my private chef business. I met a lot of clients, and that definitely helped me to get where I am now. But I think the pace of life was just not for me.
Yeah, got it. The pace, I mean, that's the daily life, right? The pace of life is defining the daily life. So
exactly. I mean, cost of living is a big part of it. I remember living in Brooklyn. I had a great apartment. It was expensive, and I worked all the time to pay for it, ending up never spending any time in my house. And, always taking jobs that paid the bills. And then when I decided to move to Sicily, because of all the perks it has here, I'm able to work on things I really love doing.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like you've done what everybody dreams of, right? It's like combining all your interests into.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, part of my work day is sometimes a vacation for someone else. So
yeah, that's a pretty nice spot.
Yeah. I mean, I'm taking care of people. I'm cooking still. I'm acting as a tour guide. I'm writing. I'm doing all these things in my tourism business, but I'm in a beautiful place. And I mean, my work day sometimes is walking around, eating and drinking, or I organize these sailing trips. So I'm cooking on a boat and swimming every day. Can't complain.
Yeah, I'm stoked to talk to you about the travel and Sicily stuff. Like what I want you to do today is to help us, like almost like a mini guide, like walk us through. I have a bunch of questions, but we'll do like maybe like an example of your best itinerary, a bit on like budget accommodations, food, those types of topics that you cover in the book. So we're going to get into all that. So everybody hang with me, but I have more questions about your life and like sort of how this came together. Can we have the headline like private chef spills the beans? Like,
Spills the fagioli.
yeah, were you a chef to the stars or something? Like, I know you're gonna say, even if you were, you're not allowed to talk about it.
Exactly.
We're gonna ask anyway.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I've cooked for some great people for sure. They helped get the word out about who I am, what I do. My major part of my audience, my clients, everyone who's coming to Sicily and working directly with me, mostly come from contacts I had from working and living in New York.
Is this all code for that you like do chefing for celebrities
I would say I used to, and I don't anymore.
Okay. You're not going to tell us any stories. You're not even going to give us a
No,
morsel.
it's private.
A morsel. I'm using all the food terminology I can to try to win you over.
I love it, Bravo. My business developed into running these great food and wine tours, learning a lot about Sicily specifically, Southern Italy, and then I started writing about it. So that's kind of how the Moon Guide.
Yeah. How was that for you? Like being a chef and, very much like hands-on, present, using your hands to work type of thing, working with people. And then that kind of going over to the sort of the writing, the more solitary kind of creative, you're in front of the computer type of thing. Cause I had made, not in the same way, but I made a similar transition in my life. And I found that really hard at first, going from sort of the physicality of like some of the work I was doing to more of like the knowledge work type stuff. How was that transition for you?
I think it's an ongoing thing, but I have always liked balancing and juggling the two sides of it, being face to face with people, physical work, and solitary, maybe writing and doing business stuff at home. I never wanted to be a restaurant chef, so we can start out there. That private chefing was more for me. I like being with people, teaching cooking classes. I love being involved with food, even if now I'm not a chef as much as I am a food expert, I guess. I love being involved. And now that I'm cooking only a few months out of the year, it kind of scratches that itch that I still feel like I'm doing what I love doing, but I don't get burnt out by it.
Yeah. Kind of like feeding both parts of your soul.
Mm-hmm.
Really cool.
And the writing too was kind of had a lot to do with the COVID pandemic. That the first book that Moon asked me to write, Moon Southern Italy with Laura Thayer, I got that contract during COVID. So it was a time where I had nothing to do but sit in my house and write. And I had a big project to work on.
Yeah, right.
And then the Sicily book came after that and riffed a little on what we had worked on for Southern Italy and let me add in all these new places that maybe didn't make the cut for a bigger book touching on other regions. And I get to do these updates for it, which is great. So every few years, I'm going to be working on both of those books for now.
Cool. And you live in Sicily full time?
I do. I live full time in Palermo, the capital.
Mm.
And I've been here about 8 years.
Okay. Let's dive in. Well, I feel like, and maybe I'm wrong, but, Italy's such a, you wouldn't call it the mainland, but, the things in Italy that people go to see, like it's so many tourists are going to see, and rightfully so. There's so many sites, historical and food and on, Rome and Florence and all those places. So then I feel like Sicily might get overlooked by a lot of people planning trips. I know it's become more popular pretty recently, but I just wanted to start with you. You mentioned the pace of life from New York City to Sicily. And I think that's a good place to start because when people land, it's like, I mean, you've been living for 8 years. What should you expect? And kind of like, how would we settle into the pace of life there? I mean, we'll get into more practical questions later,
Sure.
but yeah, just curious what it's like.
Yeah, that's a big change, usually from people coming from big cities. I mean, Palermo is a big enough city in its own, but the island and the region has a lot to offer. Um, One thing is just the pace, the slow appreciation of small things throughout your day, rituals, coffee breaks, long meals, a lot of strolling in the evening in a city or sitting out in the countryside for hours, drinking wine and chatting. It's relaxing.
Yeah. It's just part of the daily life.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in Palermo. I live in a very busy neighborhood, very chaotic and beautiful, noisy. We have fireworks almost every night, market vendors setting up megaphones in the street announcing what people are selling. It's not, I wouldn't say relaxing for just arriving right and plopped into the middle of Palermo. But the people are not in a rush. They're enjoying the little, the things they have scheduled through their regular day and meeting up with friends for aperitivo. Everything has its time and place.
I mean, why should we travel to Sicily in the first place outside of the things we just mentioned, which all sound amazing, pace of life, maybe not the fireworks every day thing, but
exactly. Like you said about people feeling comfortable going to Italy and the history, there's a lot to see and amazing sightseeing monuments and history. Sicily's big calling is that the weather's always nice. It's really affordable compared to a lot of parts of Italy. And maybe in recent years, people are wanting to go to places a little more off the grid, not as touristic, not the same kind of main stops that everyone they know have been going to. So they want to try something different. The food is incredible. The wine is incredible. It's a big island, but it feels small. So there's a lot to offer, even if you spend 5 days here, or you could spend 2 weeks here. You're never going to stop learning and discovering something new.
Yeah. When is the best time to go, in your opinion, having lived there, based there? You kind of see the ebbs and flows of tourism.
Sure. I mean, now the touring season is from April to October, pretty much. So almost all year. I love the spring. I try and get people to come in May, in September, October, kind of to beat the heat a little bit, avoid a little bit more of the crowds, but it's still beautiful to be outside in spring and in fall.
We'll get back to the interview in just a moment. I know you love earning travel rewards and cash back, and that's why you're going to love Rakuten. With Rakuten, you can earn cash back on everything you need to book your dream trip, hotels, flights, rental cars, experiences, and more, while still booking through your favorite travel sites. And don't worry, cash back can be earned on top of earning the credit card points and the hotel and airline loyalty points that matter most to you, depending on how you make your booking. Plus, with Rakuten, you can also earn cash back on groceries and other purchases like electronics, pet supplies, and more. And the best part, you can join today for free and start earning cash back on top of your travel rewards. Go to Rakuten.com or get the app. That's Rakuten, Rakuten. Rakuten, the most rewarding way to shop. Now, back to the show. People that are listening right now and they're thinking, all right, well, like let me dive into like Sicily as a place to plan. Let me just look and see what it would be like planning. What are some of the things I can do, which we'll get into. But just in the planning stages, like somebody listening right now and they're going to start diving in. Do you have any counterintuitive travel advice for planning a trip to Sicily? Something that maybe it's like a way to approach it that allows you to perhaps like live more like a local or travel in such a way that you can get Sicily to truly reveal herself.
Yeah, I think the number one thing is to not try and see everything in your first trip, to be on the road every day or two, changing hotels or apartments, driving in between. You can avoid as much as possible. I would say, like, usually when I plan trips, or especially for people on their first time, I ask a lot of questions about what they're interested in to be able to place them in the right spot. But a big part would be like focusing on one side of the island and that be your first trip. If you like it, then you come back and you see something else.
Okay. Going through that lens, would you be able to give us a little breakdown? Like, I know this is generalities because like any of the places you mention or whatever side of the island you mentioned, there's going to be other things to see besides that. But do you have a way to kind of break that down? Like, let's say if you're more into, like having adventures during the day and then whatever city life, or I'm not sure how you would break that down, but I do like the idea of, I mean, you mentioned the pace of life. So it is a cool way of thinking to just go, hey, instead of like traveling around Sicily, I'm using air quotes, let's just like go one place and be there for a while, maybe use it as a base. It seems like that's what you're suggesting. And then just kind of settle into that pace of life, but then you kind of just explore that one little area and like forget the FOMO thing, right? Like,
I think people really like when they only visit, let's say, 2-3 places on one trip. They get to repeat their steps of wandering out, go get my coffee at the same place every day. And that's the kind of thing that local people do. Wander around, discover a beautiful church. They feel like they're figuring it out on their own because they're not rushed.
right. Yeah, you're kind of like letting it reveal itself naturally and organically, let's say.
And the driving is kind of hard. So public transportation is not the best. A lot of people rent cars to get back and forth across the island. And I would just avoid the travel time as much as possible.
Okay. So then where should people based on their interests?
Okay. So we have 2 big airports in Palermo and Catania. They're the 2 big cities on opposite ends. Both of them have great restaurants, historic centers. They're walkable, restaurants, bars, nightlife, churches, big squares and things to explore. Palermo, I would say, is a good base if you want a few beach trips. We have Cefalù, which is a beautiful small town with a sand beach not too far away. Trapani to the west, which has great wineries, the salt pans, nature reserves. So I would say that's a little bit of a taste of city life and some nature, maybe. On the other side, from Catania, you can head south. You can go to all the Baroque cities, towns, I guess. Noto, Ragusa, Siracusa is beautiful. And what's nice there is it's a lot easier to get around with a car. The towns are close by and you can kind of bop to a new town for a day trip every day. And then north of that is Mount Etna, Taormina, which is a popular, let's say, beach and resort destination. And they're both 2 totally different things. Mount Etna is great for wineries, for hiking, outdoor adventures. Taormina is fancy, where you go to a 5-star resort, relax at the pool, wander around the town, have a granita, go to the theater. So kind of each corner has a nice blend of, let's say, 2 things at least. So that's a big part of it, is knowing what travelers are interested in doing and figuring out which would be the right vibe for them. And I think that's what the point of a guidebook is. You look through and you say, oh, I would like that. I wouldn't like that. And sometimes people are using this before they plan their trip
Yeah.
instead of just taking it along as recommendations for where they've already figured out.
Okay. Are there any experiences that can be, I mean, well, we're going to talk about food. That's its own category. But you mentioned like organizing sailing trips and different things like that. You know, all these places have, you know, day trips and things you can do. It's always a balance, right? Like you want to be spontaneous. You want to maybe find some stuff on the ground and then be like, oh yeah, cool, let's do that. But then as a traveler, you're also worried about like, are things going to get filled up? Am I going to miss out on some things?
Yeah, and not being overscheduled, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Are there any experiences we should say that you think like, hey, if you're coming here and you want to do this thing, you should book it in advance? Or is it all just kind of like show up, find out what's going on and then just kind of plan accordingly? Like how would you recommend people tackle it?
There are some things that I recommend really booking in advance, especially because travel to Sicily has been picking up in the last few years. Top guides get booked out, restaurants get booked. So if you're coming in a really busy time of year, you need reservations for certain things. Visiting wineries is a big thing. In Sicily, you do not just show up at a winery and say, we'd love to taste something. They're not even going to know that you are coming, you know. You need reservations for things like that. Cooking classes, I think, are fun. A lot of people like doing that when they come to Italy. And that's something that's different in every region you go to. What else? Walking tours, I think you could book when you're here. You could always find something. But yeah, I think like specialized boat trips or cooking classes, these kind of things you should plan in advance.
Okay. And what are your like must do's? Whether they're touristic or not, you know, you're just like, you have to.
Yeah, my musts are you must have a mix. I love saying like you need to visit a town and you need to visit the countryside, or visit a town and visit the beach, because that's kind of what makes Sicily so special is the variation of landscape, of cuisine, of the history, the architecture. Musts, I think, are if you're going to Catania or Palermo or Siracusa, you check out the farmers market. That's kind of something people are always interested in doing. I offer a market tour in Palermo. I have in my book recommendations for guides in all the other towns. Also, you can wander and do that on your own. I think visiting churches is a big part of it. Whether you're religious or not, I think it's more for the architecture. Sicily is incredible at how many layers there are in the history, and you see it as you walk around these little towns. Yeah, wine tasting, go to the beach, going to the seaside is a big part of why people want to visit Sicily.
You mentioned the cars a couple times and getting around and public transportation being a challenge. If people are wanting to spend time, like you said, in a mix, should we like not rent a car for the whole time and just show up and rent a car when we need it? Do we not need to rent a car at all?
I think it depends on where you go and how long you stay. Because if you don't want a car at all, you can base yourself in somewhere like Palermo, in Catania, and do some day trips from there with public transportation or with a private driver for one day. We have buses, we have trains, and there's an art to figuring out which is going to be the best option for you. But I think, yeah, if you were staying for 2 weeks, you're probably going to need a car at some point.
Yeah. Okay. So that's something to plan for. Food. I mean, I saved the big category here, which you being a food expert, we have to go deep on food. And I imagine that's, you know, outside of all the other great things, of course, traveling to that part of the world is, I mean, anywhere really, you know, food is always a big highlight. I feel you have such a unique background and so much experience with food and cooking. And I just thought, well, we have to get your best advice on the culinary scene. what are like the things you must try, like things not to not miss? And not only that, but where to get the authentic version of that.
Sicily has a lot of specialties. We love frying and we will fry anything. So there's lots of street food dishes. Mostly Palermo and Catania have their unique like street food items. So wandering around, eating greasy fried stuff, drinking a €2 beer, you're gonna love it. Arancini, classic. They have to be fried to order. They're the little fried rice balls with filling in the middle. So as you walk around, you see them, you need them to be fried right before you eat them. That's something that we fight about between Palermo and Catania. Messina, who has the best one? How are you supposed to pronounce it? What do you call them? But it's a delicious fried rice ball anywhere. Lots of pastas and lots of sweets. Every single thing imaginable filled with ricotta, cannoli, classic. Everybody needs to you can't come to Sicily and not get a cannolo. Kind of similar with the arancini. It's something you want filled to order. You don't want it sitting in the pastry shop with the ricotta in the middle of the shell because it gets soggy. So that's, little tricks. So you say, that one doesn't look as good. Cannoli, I think you can find good ones everywhere. You can find bad ones everywhere as well. We have lots of seafood because it's an island, but pretty much you only eat seafood if you're on the coast, not really in the middle of the island where they eat more vegetables, beans, greens. We do a lot of sweet and sour, which comes from the Arab period in Sicily. Lots of raisins and pine nuts and everything, sweet and sour onions. Caponata is an example of this. It's a sweet and sour eggplant dish that you could get anywhere in the island. There's so much to eat. I think that's also why people like staying in a city and walking around, because you're killing time before and the next meal.
Nice. What is you mentioned what's the fried rice thing called again?
Arancini.
Yeah. What is in the middle?
There's two classic fillings. One is ragu, a meat ragu with tomato sauce and peas. And the other is bechamel or cheese with ham.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. I love those tricks too, like those kind of like you need to see it fried on the spot or don't get it, or you need to see the cannoli filled on the spot. Don't order one that's pre-made. I wish I listened to
those
that.
Are little tips.
I had a terrible cannoli in Rome, and it was for that reason. It was just like a busy cafe near a major tourist site, and they just like, dang it. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, well, I think that's what happens when people try them here and they're really crispy.
Yeah.
They're like, oh my God, I never had anything like this.
Yeah.
But the ricotta is also completely different than anywhere else.
Right. Okay. Despite my eating before this interview, I'm still hungry. Now that you're getting into it with the wineries, because when people think food, of course, they're starting to think wine and exploring wine in that area. You mentioned having to make reservations. Are there any other hacks like that? Like, I'm not saying making reservations a hack, but you mentioned a couple of the food tips that you were saying, like sort of insider. If somebody's listening and they want to explore the wines in the region, what's the best way to sort of tackle that? Is there a resource that people can go to? I know you have information in the book, places where you can like make these reservations. Do you have to contact them individually?
Yeah, usually you can Google the wineries, find their website, and just send them an email. And reservation doesn't necessarily mean paying for anything up front. Just deciding on the date and time and confirming that that's when you're going and that's when they should expect you. There are a lot of different grape growing regions in the little island. So to break it down most simply, The west side of the island is great for white wines, and the east side is good for reds. And that's not an end all be all, but that's kind of the average. Yeah, I mean, I think with any kind of wine tasting and learning about a new region, the best thing is to go to your local wine shop, talk to the people there, and say, hey, I'm interested in this, and start trying bottles. One big thing, too, is that when you drink wines that are blends of multiple grapes, it's harder to start identifying what you like from each one. So I recommend that people drink wines with just one grape when they're starting to learn about a place.
What are those wines in Sicily that people should ask for?
Okay, for white wine, we have native grapes called Grillo, Catarato, Caricante, Insolvia, a few different whites. And for the reds, Nero d'Avola is probably the main one that people have heard of from Sicily. Frappato, that's a little bit of a lighter red. We have Nerello Mascalese from Mount Etna. And then there are some international varieties that grow very well here. So we have an area outside of Palermo that grows great Syrah. And so there are grapes that people maybe recognize from other wine regions, but we do have a lot of special grapes that are unique to here.
Cool. And those are always fun to try. Anything that's unique to the place is the thing to get, because you can't get harder to get outside.
Sure. And the wine is very affordable here. You can get a decent bottle for $10. You can get an absolutely incredible bottle for $40. And if you're coming from a big city, that's a big difference from what you get in a restaurant.
The idea of connecting with locals, really connecting with them, endearing yourself to the locals, let's say, those are the best travel experiences, right? You meet somebody and they invite you to sit down with them, or they invite you to their house or whatever. You said people are friendly there. It's got, good vibes, relaxed pace of life. How do you, as a traveler, kind of break through and connect with locals?
Yeah, I think Sicily is a little trickier for that because you're not going to find as many people who speak English here. What they do love is when you try to speak Italian. A smile goes a long way. A grazie, a buongiorno, like a few simple little phrases are going to kind of crack them open to be like, oh, this person is trying. Yeah, I just say wander around, have a drink, meet people, talk to the shop owners. I don't think it's that hard to get connected with people while you're traveling because they see you're excited, they're proud of where they're from, and they're going to want to talk to you about it.
Grazie, buongiorno. Are they not the most fun foreign words to say? I don't know.
They are.
It's something about buongiorno. It's just.
I know Italian is very sing-songy.
Yeah, you could just give the buongiorno. I mean, you get
buongiorno, and there's our arms are going.
Yeah, my arms are going right now. I mean, it makes you happy. It makes them happy. Is there anything funny we could say that's like a local catchphrase that they would like really catch their attention and be like, "Whoa!" Like, how did they know that?
Oh, we won't say the bad ones, but
why not?
In Italian, you say andiamo, means let's go, like come on, andiamo. But in Sicily, they say amoni or amonine. And that's usually one of the first phrases that people learn when they're here, out drinking with a group of friends, with some locals, and they go, come on, let's go, let's go.
Yeah. Okay. So if you could throw that, they know you're hitting some local slang and they're like, all right.
They know you're trying.
They're like, this person's legit trying to fit in here. All right. That's good. Yeah. Because sometimes, I know it sounds ridiculous, but like one word like that can catch somebody's eye or ear, I should say, and just really open it up because you might pronounce it wrong. You might even use it out of context. But the fact that you even know that it's a local version of a word speaks volumes to who you are and what you're trying to do as a traveler in terms of
Absolutely.
fitting
I
in.
think it shows them that you're trying.
Yeah. Yeah. At like another level, which is cool. We mentioned, cost of wine and different things. For budget, what do you expect people would spend? And obviously, for this question, it's always the caveat. You could sleep outside and you could also get a 5-star hotel, and that's anywhere in the world. But, the sort of the moderate traveler, like let's say a budget version, and then more of like a mid-range, not luxury, but sort of like a range there.
I would, for hotels.
Yeah, like just a range of costs, I suppose. Yeah, like a good meal. I don't know what you recommend: hotels, staying in apartments. I'm not sure what you like to do.
Yeah, I mean, I have recommendations for whatever people are looking for, and it depends on how long they stay sometimes. But a simple B&B, a nice hotel, you can get for 100, 150 a night. Getting to nicer places, 300. And 5-star are up there in the hundreds per night. Some are 5, some are 7 a night. So in high season, some places in Taormina are in the thousands. So it depends on what you're looking for.
I'm guessing there are hostels and budget accommodations as well.
Sure,
yeah.
Sure. There's B&Bs everywhere. There's Airbnbs. Hostels, we don't have a ton. There's some in Palermo, there's some in Catania, but you can find them. Renting cars, let's say now it's August, September. I've been paying $50-$60 a day for a car rental. In winter, it's like 10 euros a day. So that's a huge difference. I mean, that's the cheapest that I've found. So renting a car is not that expensive. Gas is expensive and you have to drive yourself. But that kind of thing depends on the season. And dining out, I'd say you could spend anywhere from 30 a person, 40, 50 a person in the cities for dinners.
Okay. For a solid meal, a solid, pretty epic dining experience.
Classic, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even our Michelin-starred places are nowhere near what I remember Michelin-star restaurants cost in New York. Our nicest places here in Sicily are maybe 200 per person for a huge tasting menu. That's, special occasion stuff.
We'll get back to the interview in just a moment.
If data management is slowing down your business, you need the Intuit ERP. If one entity is here, and one here, and one here, and one here, you need the Intuit ERP. If scaling your business feels like starting over, you need the Intuit ERP. Intuit Enterprise Suite is the AI-native ERP solution that consolidates, migrates, and automates, all in one place. Learn more at intuit.com/ERP.
Now, back to the show. Your top 2 or 3 hidden gems, like places that you would say, why aren't more people coming here? Or like, this will get crowded at some point because these places are spectacular and they're just perhaps a little bit out of the way, so people don't make it there as much, or whatever the case. Can you think of 2 or 3 spots that you want to share?
Yeah, sure. Sicily has a lot of little islands off of it, and I think they're gaining a little bit more popularity. So we have an island group called the Aeolian Islands, which I love, and I go there a lot. It's off of the north coast of Sicily, kind of between Sicily and Italy. That's kind of becoming a new summer destination for people coming to Sicily. It used to be a place that mainly like Italians or Europeans would go, but now I'm seeing a lot more other foreign travelers going to these places too. Noto is a small town in the southeast. People have been visiting that a lot more. It's a Baroque designed city. Lots of beautiful churches, really good pastry shops. Cafe Sicilia, their main famous pastry shop, was featured on Chef's Table on Netflix, so that gave it some popularity. Taormina is very popular, and it was in the White Lotus, so even after that, a lot more people have been going there. I wouldn't call it a hidden gem, but it's definitely becoming more popular here. And then within the city, every city has their hidden gems. We have tons just in Palermo. And this is usually a town that people stay one day on their way somewhere else. So I've been fighting for this for years to say, give it a little bit more time, because there's a lot to see here. But I don't know if people want to spend too much time in a big city if they come from a big city.
Yeah, maybe that's the thing.
But it depends on the traveler.
Is there a best beach?
It's hard because it's totally up to the taste. We have some sand beaches and a lot of rocky beaches. So that really divides the crowd. You know, if you want to lounge on a sand beach under an umbrella and a lounge chair, that's one thing. If you're happy to just grab your sandals and go off a rock, that's another whole category. So yeah, I'd say like people for sand, they love Cefalù. Palermo has some sand beaches. Down by Ragusa, Syracuse, there's beautiful sand beaches on the south coast, but you can find great rocky beaches everywhere. But you just have to be a little more prepared with what you pack.
Right on. Cool. I probably should have started with this, but it's always good to know any like sort of safety tips or scams to avoid and things like that, things to be aware of. Every place has things to be aware of like that, I feel. Do you have any specific advice for people?
I'll go with two different things. I would say like you have to be city smart in a crowded place, no matter where you are in the world. Keep an eye on your bag. Don't wander down alleys where there's no one hanging out. You have to be smart in any crowded place. We have some pickpocketers, but not a lot compared to other big cities or bigger regions of Italy. I've never had any problems. Plus, I moved here single, female, foreign, and have always felt safe in Sicily. But you have to be smart, aware of your surroundings, and I don't know, smart about when you're out wandering on your own and when it's time to just be in your hotel. The other thing is sometimes transportation, taxis, little rickshaw cabs, horse and carriage, these kind of things is kind of where they might trick you into paying a lot more than you need to. I would say don't book a tour just from a dude on the street.
Yeah. General good
advice. And for taxis, I think like you can always ask your hotel or even your Airbnb or something before you come, like, hey, how much should it really cost for a taxi from the airport or from here to the beach or from here? You know, ask somebody before you jump in a car and they just give you some foreign tourist price. And I think speaking the language helps. So learning a little bit is going to help with any kind of interaction with local people.
What are you excited about in terms of the future? What do you have going on?
I have a lot going on. I mean, I wrote these two books. The Sicily book is out, Moon Sicily, and it gives me a lot of credibility for the business I run. When guests are coming, they love picking it up before they come for a retreat with me or something that they plan on their own. I organize week-long trips throughout the year. Now I'm excited. I'm putting together the calendar for next year. Usually I do a wine tasting retreat on Mount Etna in the spring, on the island of Pantelleria in the fall, sailing trips in the Aeolian Islands in June and July. And I help people plan their trips. So I'm putting together my kind of calendar, but I do market tours in Palermo all year round. And everybody loves them. So I'm excited to do more of those.
Yeah. Do you want to share where people can learn more?
Sure. My name is Linda Sarris. On my website, lindasarris.com, or on Instagram, The Cheeky Chef. That's where everything you need is.
Do you like guide all of this stuff yourself personally, or do you have guides you work with? Or
Yeah, I do it.
Yeah,
the week-long trips, I'm with them. I plan everything. I'm usually the chef for some meals. The guide, I'm the chef, I'm the mother.
It's a tough job sometimes.
And then I help people too. Like I'll help you plan your trip and I don't need to go with you. I set everything up. I rent, fancy villas for families that are coming. Pretty much whatever you need in Sicily, I can do, or I can find someone to do it.
Is it hard dealing with all those demanding tourists all the time?
All of my guests are lovely. And I think like a lot of people arrive to me through word of mouth. And I think that's what makes the human connection like so sweet, is that everyone who arrives for my tour, I would say like 99% have been lovely guests. So I think it's about how clearly you explain what you offer, who you are, what you do, what they can expect. Then those kind of travelers are going to be attracted to your experiences.
Do you feel like getting to be alongside of people exploring Sicily, seeing them light up about different things, feeding off that energy, do you feel like that keeps it all fresh for you, daily life there?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even if I do something like the market tour, the same trip over every single day, I'm doing the same route, talking to the same people. I love it every single day. And it's a different experience with each guest. A lot of it is Italian Americans or Sicilian Americans who maybe say like, oh, my family made that, or, oh, I know that vegetable, we used to grow it, or coming here to find their roots. I think like those stories really touch me, and I love being a part of their trip. Yeah.
Yeah, that is rewarding to be a part of that, showing them something that they've been thinking about or just remembering, I'm sure. You have also traveled around quite a bit outside of Sicily, just getting into your own travels. I saw somewhere that you do some traveling for songwriting camps. Are you a songwriter?
I did a lot of it before COVID, and now it's slowed down a bit. I'm not a songwriter. I had been the chef on a lot of retreats where there are songwriters and producers writing new songs that they would either use or sell to someone else.
Interesting.
I really love doing them. It's so exciting to work with creative people. I've done art residencies as well as the in-house chef. It makes my food more filled with love when I'm feeding people who are also creating at the same time. Yeah, so I've done a lot of those cooking for music camps and art residencies and retreats. And that's sort of how I got into running my own retreats and food and wine focused stuff here in Sicily.
What is your best business advice?
I'm still learning, but I'm a one-woman show. And I think learning to ask for help or knowing when to bring people onto your team is just going to make things a lot easier for you. Yeah. I think believing in what you're doing, believing in what you're selling is going to make a big difference. and have things not come across too commercial.
Okay. For somebody that wants to level up their cooking, pointing to myself, well, we all could get in a rut where we're kind of making the same meals over and over again just because it's easy, and you have to takes a little bit of effort to branch out sometimes. I just want to hear some advice for somebody looking to level up, resources, anything.
I mean, cookbooks.
Yeah.
Cookbooks is
what are your favorites?
The way
what are your favorites?
To come up with new ideas, to experiment, but not feel like you have to do it on your own. You can follow the directions for any culture, I guess. But in Sicily, we have great books written about the recipes here. Fabrizia Lanza, she's my mentor in Sicily. She's written cookbooks. Ben Tish from the UK. Katie Parla has written great books about Southern Italy and the South, the islands. One day I'll write one, but I think grab a Sicilian cookbook and try something.
It's a good way to explore the world at home.
Yeah. And if you mess it up, only you have to eat it.
Can you leave us with a call to action or a little sentiment or a quote you want to share that you're living by right now, or anything here?
I think just slow down, look around. In Sicily, your travel experience will be multiplied 1,000,000 times if you don't rush yourself. Leave room for the unexpected.
Yeah. That's a great way to end it, because it goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning, the pace of life, and getting back to that idea of just slowing down. I take it you don't miss New York City at all.
I like visiting, but I don't miss living there.
What about your family? What do they think of your life over there?
They understand. And my family and friends love visiting me here.
Yeah. Do you miss, what do you miss most about home?
I miss the people, my friends, my family. And that's really what I come back for. But when people ask what I miss most about New York, I miss the food and the variety and all these different choices that we had at our fingertips that I no longer have. I live in a place with amazing food, but because it's so traditional, there's no variety. So I miss Asian food and Middle Eastern food and everything.
It's interesting when you live abroad how it does bring to the surface some of the things you miss the most. So when you go home and you're craving X, Y, and Z meal, those are at the top of your list of favorite. Like for me, it's Mexican food. When I go back to the States, I'm like,
okay, yeah. I mean, it's like an eating tour when I go back to the U.S.
Exactly. Well, we do what we can, I guess. When we're there, try to get as much in.
Not complaining.
Sometimes I get angry. I'm just like, "Wow, man, I wish I wasn't full right now." Because I want to go get that other meal and I'm full and I can't, I can only squeeze in so many meals for the days I have.
Exactly. Just like when you're traveling too, you want to eat as much as you can while you're here.
If you had to live somewhere else, where would you live? Let's say they kicked you out of Sicily tomorrow and you had to base somewhere else.
They would never kick me out. No, but I would live on a little island in the middle of nowhere.
Okay. All right. Well, wait, where did you grow up?
Pennsylvania.
Which part of Pennsylvania?
Allentown.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I'm from Pennsylvania. I went to school in upstate New York and then ended up in the city.
Okay, great. I'm from the Philadelphia area. So I'm
same.
glad we got to have two Pennsylvania folks here on the other side of the pond.
Me too.
Getting to spend an hour together. And just
thank
want to
you
thank
so
everybody.
much.
Yeah, thank you for coming and sharing your knowledge on Sicily. We'll link up to everything, including the new book by Moon. Best of luck. Hope we can stay in touch.
Great. Thank you so much. It was nice chatting with you.
Likewise. Cheers.
Thanks.
There you go. Thank you to Linda Sarris for taking her time to be on the show. And you can pick up that Moon guidebook to Sicily over at moon.com. Promo code ZERO, by the way, ZERO, for 20% off if you want a discount on that book. We hooked up with them, and they said they would hook you up for a discount for the entire year. So that's really cool. And I'm going to leave you with a quote now from, well, I had to find something related to Italy. And I thought that this one from Francis Burney is a pretty fun one. Traveling is the ruin of all happiness. There's no looking at a building after seeing Italy. I don't know if you agree or disagree with that, but you get the spirit. You get the spirit behind it. It's always a lovely place to visit, but I've yet to visit Sicily, and I don't know. It's on the list now, I can tell you that. Maybe it's on yours too. Get in touch anytime, by the way. This is a community-powered show. ZeroToTravel.com/newsletter is our free newsletter. And, of course, you can always just email me, jason@ZeroToTravel.com, to just say hi. Love to hear stories from the community and just connect with everybody listening. So if you have a moment, you haven't said hi and you've been meaning to, go ahead and do that. I'll let you go now. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time. Peace and love to you and yours. Cheers.
This podcast has been brought to you by ZeroToTravel.com. Ideas and advice to make your travel dreams a reality.